Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. Now, the Premier League is finally back and there's some interesting fixtures to say the least. So let's begin with, I think, the biggest game of the week. Well, one of two biggest games I would have to say is the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham. So I'll just share a graphic with you so it's a bit more visual for you guys. So yes, Arsenal and Tottenham. So Arsenal still in first place in the league, but only a point separates both teams. I think for the first time in a number of years, this fixture has a bit of weight to it. It's always a fiery encounter to say the least, but now because both teams are performing really well, especially in the start of their season, has a bit more of an edge, a bit more of excitement to it. And also, alongside that, the pride of North London is at stake. So, whoever's the losing team will not hear the end of it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of rival fans. If you go back to work, you get a bit of banter here and there. So yeah. So, the next few days might not be nice if you're the losing team in this fixture. But let's look into the team news. So, I believe Tierney had a knock on international duty, so he may not be ready for this game. Not been confirmed yet. We'll probably hear a bit more tomorrow. But in regards to Zinchenko, he should be fit and is expected to start at left back. Odegaard is also back to full fitness. He should slot back into the lineup, despite the fact that Fabio Vieira had a great game against Brentford and scored a spectacular goal. Feels like a distant memory, but yeah, it was not so long ago. And with regards to Tottenham, Lloris, I believe, was withdrawn from the France game. So he will be assessed before the game. So a decision will be made in regards to his participation. Antonio, to be fair, he had a conference earlier today. Didn't reveal too much details in regards to player availability. I think he wants to keep his cards close to his chest. So there will be a few players taking late fitness tests just due to the magnitude of playing international football. Some have traveled long distances, so it's quite normal at this stage where some players might not be fit enough or they might participate in the latter stages of the game. So, quick prediction from me, I'm going to go for an Arsenal win. So, I believe Arsenal will win 2-1. So, I'll make a note of all of these predictions that I do today and see how many I get right and present in the next preview show. So let's make a game out and see how many I actually get correct every week. Next fixture, as you can see, is Liverpool and Brighton. So Brighton have appointed a new manager in the name of Roberto De Zerbi. And I'll be brutally honest, I don't know too much about him. So I find it quite an interesting appointment as he's not someone that's a big name or someone that we would be familiar with in terms of Premier League experience or anything like that. So one thing I do know is he's very big on promoting youth players. So I think he's at the right club where Brighton have a fantastic setup there. And their scouting network is probably one of the best in the country. So not a bad one there. Just got a comment here from Bobby. Thank you, Bobby, for showing some love. Appreciate you joining the show today. So yeah, so back to the game. Liverpool haven't played a Premier League fixture since 3rd of September, which was against Everton in the Merseyside derby. Even that feels like a lifetime ago. Especially at that time, I think we wanted to play our game quickly and try and get some points, but we've had to wait a longer period of time now. But the goal is the same: try and grab as many wins as possible. Despite the fact that our fixture list isn't the kindest in this month, to say the least, our next games after Brighton will be Arsenal and City. So yeah, it doesn't come easier than that. In terms of team news, I believe Kanate, Kelleher, and Ramsey have returned to full fitness, but I don't believe any of these players will be involved. It's too soon to rush them at this stage, especially if they've all come back from, well, especially Konate, he's come back from a long injury, and Ramsey as well. We've not even seen him in action since he signed, so it'll be too soon, too premature to have them in the firing lineup right now. Question marks over the fitness of Jota, who I believe was subbed off whilst playing for Portugal due to fatigue. So he has been sorely missed. Let's be brutally honest. But if he's not ready, I wouldn't want to risk him at this stage of the season. Nunes and Diaz haven't trained today, but I believe both players may be given an extra day to recover as they've just returned from international duty. Obviously, they're representing Uruguay and Colombia, so they have traveled the miles to say the least. So I would assume that is the case. Some fans are a bit worried in terms of why they haven't trained. I'm sure there's nothing more to it. In terms of Brighton, Mwepu, Moda, and Lalana seem to be the only absentees for the Seagulls. So they should have a pretty much strong lineup to play Liverpool. My prediction for this game, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Liverpool. I don't think it'll be a wipeout. Brighton have been one of the informed teams so far this season, and it will not be a walk in the park. I know they've got a new manager, so you're thinking maybe this is a great chance to go at them, but I don't think that's how it always works. Sometimes when you have a new manager, it gives them a new spring of life. So let's see how Brighton perform in this fixture. The next one on the list is Fulham versus Newcastle. So Fulham are one of the informed teams as well, notching up three wins so far this season in comparison to Newcastle, who only have one win to their name, but have 5 draws on the board. So that's pretty much been their story this season. A lot of draws, not enough wins, but still in a relatively good position in the league. I can see this being a good game, but I don't think it'll contain a lot of goals, if I'm being honest. So my prediction for this game is a draw. So I'm giving it a 1-1 scoreline. The next fixture on the list is Southampton versus Everton. So this is 13th versus 14th in the league. Neither team have been in great form. Southampton have conceded 11 goals so far this season, so that's an area for them to improve, obviously. Everton, on the other hand, have been very solid defensively, only conceding 6 goals. But it's the other end that needs work. So I believe they've only scored 5 goals this season. So a tale of two teams. One concedes a lot of goals, one can't score enough goals. So it won't be a high scoring game in my opinion. So I'm going for a 1-0 victory for the home team. So that's Southampton. The next fixture is Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. So another London derby with Conor Gallagher possibly playing against his team of last season, which was Crystal Palace, where he was on loan for the season. He hasn't had much game time under Tuchel, but maybe under Potter, I think it might be a change of fortune. So I expect to see him play more. Whether that's coming off the bench or starting, I think he will be rotated quite a bit this season. But intrigued to actually see how he performs in a Chelsea shirt, as we've not been given that much of a glimpse. In terms of team news, Butler and McArthur are back in training for Crystal Palace, so they will be in contention to take part in this game. Olise and Edouard, who've had good moments whenever they've made cameo appearances, are hoping to be involved or start in this game to try and displace Ayew and Mateta from the lineup. But to be fair, both of the players have done really well so far this season, so it won't be an easy task to displace them from the team. Chelsea, on the other hand, I believe Mendy and Pulisic should be fit to play in this game. I was just reading a report earlier on today that apparently Amari Hutchinson, one of the young players that they signed from Arsenal, has impressed Graham Potter in training. So maybe we could be seeing him playing some first team football very soon. So one name to, keep an ear out whenever Chelsea plays. So with regards to my prediction, I will go for a 2-0 victory for Chelsea. Next game, Bournemouth versus Brentford. So a game that I hope involves a lot of goals, despite the fact that both teams lost their previous games. So I'm sure they'll be hoping to get back to winning ways. Brentford have been one of the top scoring teams this season. They've scored 15 goals, and Bournemouth have conceded 19 goals. So, with that said, my prediction for this game will be a 2-1 victory for Brentford. Next fixture, West Ham versus Wolves. So, this will be an interesting game as both teams have strengthened very well, in my opinion, this summer, but haven't really kick-started their season. Wolves have struggled for goals, and West Ham have been unable to gain any points or momentum this season so far. We could see the return of Diego Costa in the league. I think it's most likely, as I believe Jimenez will not be fit for this game. So certainly expect some fireworks at any moment during this game. West Ham, I expect them to start Skamaka in this game, as well as Cornet, who has been very impressive whenever he's made an appearance. So in terms of this game, I said West Ham need to gain some momentum. I don't think this is the game for that. So I've given it a 1-1 draw. Now, this is the other big game of the week. It's the Manchester Derby, Man City versus Manchester United. So the Derby is upon us. And similar to the North London Derby, both teams will be full of confidence going into this game. Obviously, City are second right now with 17 points, and United are fifth with 12 points, considering they had a very, very awful start to the season. And they still have a game in hand. So, in terms of the table, you'd have to say this is a must win game for United to try and gain some momentum and possibly climb up the league. In regards to team news, Man City, I believe John Stone is out with a hamstring injury. So, Laporte, who's just come back from injury, may take his place in the team. As we all know, Calvin Phillips, as he's got a shoulder injury that took him out of the England squad last week, so he won't be available anytime soon. In terms of Manchester United, I believe McTominay isn't fit enough to play. There will be late fitness tests for Rashford and Martial, but no guarantee that they'll be involved in this game. So, with that said, I've gone for a 3-1 prediction, and that goes to Manchester City. So, yep, United fans won't be happy to hear that, but that's just how I see the game going this weekend. Next game, Leeds versus Aston Villa. So, two teams that will be raring to go to find their third win of the season. Leeds had 10 players on international duty, so it'll be interesting to see how the team is set up with Jesse Marsh. And speaking of Jesse Marsh, actually, he will be serving his one-match ban from the touchline following his red card against Brentford. But in regards to his team, I think they've got a bit of a boost. Rodrigo is set to return, so he's been sorely missed as he was on great goal-scoring form before his shoulder injury. So he's back in the lineup. Firpo and Bamford still aren't quite ready to be involved, but should be available in the coming weeks. Aston Villa have 4 players out. That include Kamara, Diego Carlos, Cash, and Luka Dean as well. So these are some big players in the Villa team, which is probably why they've been so inconsistent so far this season. So with that being said, I am going to go for a narrow win for Leeds United. So I believe it will be a 1-0 victory for Leeds United there. And the final fixture that I'll be covering is Leicester City versus Nottingham Forest. So this is a big game for Leicester City. Still no wins in 7 games and only 1 point on the board. Now, I don't like making these type of predictions, but it has to be said. If Leicester lose this game, I think Brendan Rodgers gets the sack. That would mean in 8 games, he still hasn't got a win and only 1 point to show for it. So let me put it into context. Out of 24 points, he's only gained 1 point. That is abysmal form for any team at any level. So I think a change would be desperately needed And I'll be honest, I'm actually quite worried for Leicester. A lot of pundits seem to think that it's all rosy and all things will change. In football, things don't work like that. If you're in a run of form where you're not getting the points, players are losing morale right now, things have to change, and it doesn't happen overnight. And after this fixture, will be 8 games, which means 30 games remaining. Seems like a big number, but with the World Cup coming up as well, it's not quite a straightforward season. There's a lot of congestion going on with the fixture list, so it's not easy to gain that momentum this season. With regards to Nottingham Forest, they've lost a couple of their games with the same scoreline, which was 3-2. And in this game, I see there being a few goals. Now, I said Brendan Rodgers is under fire. What about Steve Cooper? Is his position under fire after spending so much money, probably the highest amount in Europe, not even in the country, and he's recruited over 20 players? Seems like a ridiculous point to make, as you would expect a manager to be given time. But come on, let's not beat to it. It's not how football works. You had Thomas Tuchel who bought all these players for Chelsea, and the following week was dismissed. So just because you've been backed by the owner has the power to just take that away if he's not happy with what he sees on the pitch. So one to kind of make a note of. I don't think his job is safe. Nottingham Forest, they've had one or two moments here, but the players they've signed, they've not really. I know there's 20 odd players, but they haven't really done much to suggest that things will change in the short term. So difficult fixture for both teams. My prediction for this is I think it will be a 2-1 victory for Leicester City. A narrow win. I can see it being like a last minute goal as well. So yeah, let's see if my prediction holds there. But that concludes our match preview show today. So thank you to everyone tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on social media. So I'm on Twitter at OzzieFTP, and I'm also on Instagram at Ozzie.ftp. Thank you to Bobby, who sent a comment earlier on. Appreciate your involvement. Next show will be a match reaction. As a Liverpool fan, I'll be doing the Liverpool versus Brighton game. Will most likely be a late show as the game isn't televised. So I would say Saturday at 11 p.m. But I will confirm the date on my social media. So make sure you to follow so you are aware. And also hit that notification bell. You will get notified whenever I've set up the video for that episode. But until then, take care, stay safe. I hope to see you all very soon. Good night.